So there's a handful of things that we need to address regarding the United States and China. Now, some people are wondering what's happening. Are we going to get into a war with China? Is this going to be World War III? And well, there are talks of yes, we are going to have conflicts with China. However, there's actually a timeline for that. I want to address when that is towards the end of this video. But we also have some good news. There's some good news that is coming out of China because China is actually rejecting imports of certain products from us here in the United States. And that actually means it's going to be less expensive for us to buy these products here. So that's some good news, and I will address that today as well. So if you have any questions whatsoever, you can always ask your questions down in the comment section below. All I ask is if you can spend just 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's begin. So here's what we need to talk about today. First, I want to talk about what happened over this weekend regarding the United States and China. Because yesterday, we got reports that 2, not 1, but 2 U.S. Navy warships, they traveled through the Taiwan Strait. Now, normally this should not be a big news breaking story, but it was. And the reason why this was a big story is because there were 2 ships that traveled together. Normally, when we see a warship make its way through the Taiwan Strait, it's by itself. But not this time. There was another warship that traveled along with it. Now, this isn't a huge shock because we've seen, over the past few weeks when China's, conducting their military exercises, close to close to Taiwan, and then we see they're sending missiles into the Taiwan Strait. Obviously, the U.S. could have done this out of precautionary measure. However, what was really surprising was that China didn't have much to say. There wasn't really a response to what the United States did. Now, I want to address the theories behind this because one is, these aren't really theories. These are statements from officials, from Chinese officials. Now, one Chinese official stated that this could have been a huge mistake if China were to go and see why there's 2 warships in the Taiwan Strait. Because what has actually happened was after Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan earlier this month, the Chinese officials actually ended communications with Washington. So this was something that it was one of those things that was a little bit scary. Because what if China decided to attack? What if China made a move? Why these 2 U.S. Navy ships are in the Taiwan Strait? Well, it wouldn't have been great, and this would have been the start of World War III. Now, another Chinese official said that China didn't want to see any international blowback by attempting to curtail a U.S. Navy ship from traveling in what many say are international waters. However, just recently, China now started to say that the Taiwan Strait is internal waters. So, some are saying that it's because they didn't want any international blowback. And at the same time, we're getting reports from India that India is worried that China is trying to militarize, the Taiwan Strait, and that's turning into a major issue. So again, we are starting to see some international blowback, towards China, and that could potentially be a problem. China's economy is already really struggling. Some are saying that the first part of September, we are going to see China's economy completely collapse. So we'll see what happens there. And as we get more information on that, I promise I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. Now, here is potentially the biggest worry that China has right now. And that is that China doesn't want to do anything that would actually give Republicans more to work with before the upcoming midterm elections. For example, if China decided to act on U.S. ships traveling through the Strait, Taiwan Strait, then it could actually look bad for Democrats, as Republicans have not had many issues like this in the past. And so that's what some Chinese officials are saying, is that China can't. They pretty much have their hands tied, because one of the things that China does not want is they do not want Republicans to control the House and the Senate. And they do not want this because if we see Republicans hold the majority in the House and the Senate, it likely means that there would easily be a Republican president for the next presidential election in 2024. If that's the case, a Republican president would make it more difficult on China. We would make it very, very difficult on China. And China knows that if Republicans gain more control in the House and the Senate, and eventually the presidency, then more legislation is going to come that likely will support Taiwan, and it will greatly limit Chinese investment. That's exactly what Chinese officials are saying. So again, right now, tensions are rather high between the US and China, but obviously these, even though tensions are high in certain aspects, we still have international trade, right? That's something that we continue to do. But that's also where there's some good news for us here in the US as well. Because according to reports, so far this month, China has rejected multiple shipments. I believe it's like 3 or 4 shipments from the US just for meat. Now, today there was another shipment that was rejected, and this was rejected from Tyson Foods. Now, the reason why this food is being rejected, now some say it's a political move, that China just doesn't want products from the US. Well, that's not necessarily true. Because according to multiple reports as well, and again from more reputable sites, from more reputable people, that China is rejecting these shipments out of caution, because these shipments are failing inspection because they're containing a food additive. It's called, I think it's called ractopamine or something very close to that. I could be butchering the entire name, but I think it's called like ractopamine. And this is just a food additive that it's legal here in the US, it's illegal in China. And so that's one of the reasons why they are rejecting this, and have rejected multiple shipments of mainly pork and beef. However, the reason why this is considered good news for us here in the US is because Chinese buyers are now starting to look at outside resources, places outside the United States, other countries, because they are saying that if they cannot rely on shipments coming in from the US because of something like a food additive that's illegal in China, but it's not illegal in the United States, well, they don't want to rely on something that could potentially be sent back. So that's one thing. The other thing is the expectation is that China's pork demand is coming back as weather starts to cool, and we see this historically. Food or pork consumption in China increases. I believe it's from September, October on. So that's kind of what we're going to see there. And they say that Chinese buyers are looking to purchase from overseas markets because China just doesn't have enough pork, for their residents. Here's the other thing. Just this morning, Beijing actually announced that China is actually going to be releasing pork from their state reserves. This is going to happen very soon. And according to U.S. officials, that this is only going to cause the United States export prices to drop. If China is releasing pork from their state reserves, what's going to happen is they have more pork, means they're not going to be willing to pay as much for imports from, let's say, the United States. So the United States would actually have to drop their prices. Well, that's good news for us here in the United States if we eat pork, because, well, prices will be dropping very soon, which means there will also be less upward pressure on inflation for that specific meat. So that's what's interesting right now, is there's some bad news coming out of China that a war could potentially be coming, but a war is not going to be coming before the midterm elections here in the United States. That Chinese officials want to see what's going to happen. They want to see, do Republicans gain control of the House and the Senate? If they do, it's going to most likely mean that there's going to be a Republican president in 2024. Because just like we saw when Nancy Pelosi was trying to negotiate with former President Donald Trump, well, makes it very difficult because she did everything she could to ensure that nothing passed because it would look bad on the leader. And who's the leader right now? President Joe Biden. So, if Republicans do the exact same thing, take the exact same game plan that Nancy Pelosi used, well, we are likely to see a change. So, that's not something that China really wants because China knows if Republicans have full control, they're going to make China's life more difficult. Prices will be more expensive. Tariffs will probably go up. And more companies will resort to manufacturing, maybe not in the US, but in other countries outside of China. So, we're going to see what happens there. But as always, as I know more, I promise, I'll come back on and share all latest news and updates. Again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.